So motorsport was always set up to be about men racing very hard, risking their lives and being rewarded by the ladies when they came back.
If someone had said to me 10 years ago, we're going to have a women at Williams group, I would have said, you're on something. There's no way that that's ever going to happen in our sport, in our team. And, it was thriving when I left.
And I made lots of mistakes in my career, and I just want to pass that on to the next generation and hope that they don't make some of the same mistakes that I did.
I've always just been like, hey, I'm racing, whoever, whether it's go or go, I'm racing them and I want to beat them.
Claire Williams, as the daughter of Sir Frank Williams, the man behind the Williams Racing Formula One team, has spent her whole life in and around racetracks.
From my very early days growing up in Formula One, racing drivers used to come around to our house, and I used to have Sunday lunch with the likes of Nigel Mansell and Riccardo Catrese, and you don't realise what a privilege that is at the time, but when you're older, you pinch yourself a little bit.
She's spent the past 9 years as deputy team principal of the team her father started. As a woman at the top of a man's world, the ride hasn't always been easy.
It never bothered me a huge amount that I was the only woman. Sometimes, it would feel a bit much being in strategy group meeting and being around a table and I was the only woman out of 32 men. You never get a word in edgeways and stuff like that. But actually, invariably, when you did talk, when you did put your hand up, people would listen and they would have that respect. Whereas if another man was trying to speak and couldn't get a word in edgeways, they wouldn't have the respect to just be quiet and let them talk. But I think, I certainly got a lot of criticism because I was a woman, and people even came out and said that you need to leave her alone. And there was targeted attacks because I was a woman. I couldn't care less about it. Other people were more offended by it, I think, than I was. Just made me fight harder, as I say. But I think you're probably right that if my brothers had taken over, if either one had taken over, they may not have had as much abuse as I did, but we'll never know.
Here, at the Mercedes-AMG Formula One team headquarters in Northamptonshire, just 12% of the workforce are women. Low representation is mirrored across the whole of the industry, but these young members of the FIA Girls on Track UK programme are hoping to change that. The initiative for Motorsport UK, the sport's governing body, was launched last year.
First of all, they're going to get some proper understanding of motorsport, both as a profession and as a hobby, so they'll understand what it is. Secondly, they'll see how exciting it is and hopefully get the bug the same as the rest of us and get that real bubble of enthusiasm and then go and join in and take part or whatever they want to do. But more important than that, they'll have connections with people that will probably last for life, which will help them in whatever they choose to do for their future careers. Then the community are invited to a lot of different things, and they do connect and they're so lovely with each other. It's such a nice, genuinely a family community is the right word for it.
Alice Powell had to stop racing in 2015 when the money ran out, despite having won the Asian Formula Renault Series in 2014.
Once the first year, so 2016, where I'd done no racing, and then 2017, and then 2018, you kind of go, you look back and, year on year, your hopes started to fade even more. So I remember it being a difficult time because you see people that were out driving that that you've beaten, that are racing in championships, let's say GTs or touring cars. But, it comes down to luck. Sometimes you just get that lucky break, or it comes down to finances. So, W Series came along and changed that in 2019.
W Series is an all-female series that pays drivers to race, but it isn't always popular across the whole sport.
I always try and look at both sides. So I see why some people might say, okay, well, you're separating, male and females from racing. It's one of the very few sports where you can race together. But at the same time, if you then look at it from W Series point of view and my point of view, how I see it is it's creating opportunity. So there's so few females in motorsport compared to males. And you've got then the likes of myself and some other drivers that are in the series that stopped racing. But now we've we've got back into racing through W Series, and I've had opportunities that have come from W Series that I probably wouldn't have had. I probably wouldn't have stepped foot in a race car again, or in the recent times, if it wasn't for W Series.
Sponsorship is one of the main issues facing racing drivers, and despite young females standing out because of their low numbers, it's not always the unique selling point potential sponsors are after.
Some companies that I actually got in touch with, I'm not going to name any companies, but they would say, well, I don't think sponsoring a female in that sport is our kind of route that we want to go down. So if I was a male, would they have sponsored me? I have no idea. But yeah, you could look at it sort of like that.
So we've had the first day done, ticked off, of free practice 1.
Jenny Gow is a motorsport broadcaster. Pit lane reporting is one of the few roles traditionally held by women.
I think there's a reason why it started out as using females as pit lane reporters, which is because generally drivers are male, and generally a female gets better quote from a driver who is male. There's just a better chemistry on screen, and you need someone to break up the voices, especially in radio. If you've got 3 men who sound exactly the same as each other, you can't relate, you can't work out who's who. It becomes very hard, so you have to have different voices. So for radio it was a no-brainer, they had to have a female, and for TV it's kind of seen as the glamour role. So yeah, you kit out a girl in some leather and then, you know, she gets a bit of cleavage out and she gets great interviews.
But she's attempting to use her profile to challenge this sexism, and has recently appeared in Netflix hit Drive to Survive.
I'm not sure whether Drive to Survive realised they wanted a woman until I told them they needed a woman. And I had many conversations with them saying that I don't want to take somebody else's position. However, you have a duty within Drive to Survive to reflect the fans and hopefully where we're aspiring to be in the future of Formula One, which is not an all-male, all-white cast list. And, you know, I had some chats with them to see if there was any possibility for a female to be in there. Not necessarily me, I just wanted there to be better representation. We are your...
And she hopes her work as a co-commentator for the new Extreme E Championship will encourage other young women and girls to get involved in the sport.
They wanted parity in the commentary box in the driver's seat. So they had a 50-50 split of male-female. They wanted the same in the commentary box. And I thought that was brave and really forward-thinking. And actually, I didn't feel massively exposed because there was another commentator alongside me. So it was a really good way of introducing a female lead commentator, which there haven't been many of, and saying this is acceptable. This is how we roll. This is just the way it is. And if I can inspire one little girl at home to think that the world of motorsport is a place that they will be totally accepted, I'm up for that.
18-year-old Abby Pulling is one of those young girls. As the only female driver in British F4 this season, she has her sights set on the title, but knows how lonely it can be pushing for the top.
I think women can get a lot of criticism in motorsport, you know, like, oh, she's only there because she's a girl or something like that, and oh, she's only there because she's someone with loads of money, and, you know, stuff like that. I think, you know, we do get a lot of criticism. We have to stand up for ourselves sometimes. I mean, sometimes I've definitely gotten people saying, you know, when I won the championship that I was illegal and, you know, I cheated and stuff like that. Because, you know, a girl can't be at the front. that's what some people think, but it's more so, you know, parents, dads, it's that kind of are like that. You know, I'm mates with most of the kids that I've raced. But yes, a lot of the times the dads don't like being, you know, by a girl.
She started off her racing career breaking records in karting as a child and has made many sacrifices along the way.
I've made quite a lot of sacrifices. I've matured a lot quicker than what my friends did. You know, in secondary school, I remember one time they were like, oh, can you not come to this party? You know, you're racing every weekend, can you not just miss this one, you know, weekend? And it was like the last round of the British Championship for like you know, I could have won for the first time the championships. They didn't quite get it, bless them, but you know, I don't blame them. But yeah, I'd miss out on stuff like that, you know, but at the end of the day, I don't hang my head on it, because, you know, I get to go out and race, and, you know, it's something that I'm so passionate about. You know, it is my own little party in my head when I'm driving around, I guess.
Claire, Alice, Abby and Jenny are just 4 of the hundreds of fantastic women working across motorsport. They've achieved great things.
Finishing in 3rd place in the championship in just my second outing and my second year as deputy team principal in 2014. That was the real highlight, to see Felipe Massa and Valtteri Bottas on the podium. That will go with me, I think, to my grave.
They have big ambitions.
I just want to be racing at professional level. I want to make a living from the racing side.
They want to create change for the next generation.
It's not about being a female driver. It's about being a driver. It's not about being a female journalist. It's just about being the best women journalist you can be.
And make women in motorsport more visible.
I want to, you know, be the first female to race in, you know, a modern day F1 car. That'd be, you know, awesome. And again, I think, you know, I can do it. It's just, you know, the factors that may hinder it.
If you believe women don't have a place in motorsport, then motorsport doesn't have a place in the future of this world.